Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to study about nitrogen cycle. Okay class, what's the importance of nitrogen? What is the importance of nitrogen and why nitrogen is needed to be cycled? Um, what is the importance of nitrogen? Nitrogen is essential for the synthesis of amino acid, and we all know that the amino acid are the building block of protein. So if there is no nitrogen, then there won't be any amino acid, and of course if there isn't any amino acid, if there isn't any amino acid, then there won't be any protein formation. And we all know that protein is essential for growth. Protein is essential um, for the formation of muscles and other structures. Fine. So this is the structure of amino acid. This amino acid, it contains it contains carbon. This carbon atom at one end, it is linked with the carboxyl group. This carboxyl group, it comes from the process of photosynthesis through glucose molecule, and it is attached to the nitro group. This nitro group, it comes from the soil. The plant, it absorbs this nitro group from the soil. Now, in which form the plant absorb nitrogen from the soil? Plant can absorb nitrogen, or plant can utilize nitrogen. Plant can utilize nitrogen only in two forms: nitrate ions and ammonium ions. Whereas in the atmosphere, as you can see, the nitrogen is not present in the form of nitrate ions and ammonium ions. So at first, as we all know that plant is able to absorb nitrogen only in the form of nitrate ions and ammonium ions. So at first, the nitrogen has to be converted or has to be fixed in the form of nitrate and ammonium ions, because in the atmosphere, nitrogen is present in the form of free nitrogen. This free nitrogen is a semi-inert gas. It cannot be utilized by the plant or by the animal directly. So at first, it has to be fixed. Fine. Now, so there are three different processes which are involved in nitrogen fixation. Number one is lightning. What happened in the process of lightning? In the process of lightning, when the lightning it happens, then at very high temperature, the nitrogen it combines with oxygen and it will form oxides of nitrogen. Then it will dissolve with the rainwater, and with the rainwater, it comes in the soil in the form of nitrate ions. Okay, so it is the first process of nitrogen fixation, which is lightning. Okay, now there are certain bacteria which are known as nitrogen fixing bacteria, which are present in the soil as well as in the root nodules of leguminous plant. Okay, so what are root nodules of leguminous plant? What is the meaning of leguminous plant? We will discuss it after some time. So what's the function of these nitrogen fixing bacteria? They utilize this atmospheric nitrogen and release ammonium ions in the soil. Okay, now move on to what is the meaning of leguminous plant. Leguminous plants are those plants having pot-shaped fruits. As you can see in this diagram, this plant is known as leguminous plant because it is having pot-shaped fruits. In such leguminous plants, their root nodules, what is the meaning of root nodules? Root nodules means there are, in the leguminous plant, there are swellings. These swellings are known as nodules. And within these swellings of the leguminous plant, nitrogen fixing bacteria are present. Okay? These nitrogen fixing bacteria, they fix, that is, they feed upon the atmospheric nitrogen and they fix it and release what? Ammonium ions. Fine. So in this way, ammonium ion is available in the soil. So in two places, nitrogen fixing bacteria are present. Nitrogen fixing bacteria, they are present freely in the soil as well as in the root nodules of leguminous plant. Okay. So the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere, it has to be fixed at first in the form of nitrate ions and in the form of ammonium ions. Why it should be at first fixed in the form of nitrate and ammonium ions? Because plant is able to absorb nitrogen only in these two forms, nitrate ions and ammonia ions. Therefore, it has to be fixed in these two forms. Okay? And there are two different processes which are involved in nitrogen fixation. Number one, lightning, through which nitrogen in the atmosphere at high temperature will be converted into nitrate ions, whereas the nitrogen fixing bacteria, they are present in the soil as well as in the root nodules of leguminous plant. Leguminous plants are those plants having pot-shaped fruits. They fix the atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia ions. Clear? Now, now the nitrogen is easily available to the plant. Plant is able to absorb nitrogen in the form of ammonium ions. So, plant will absorb nitrogen in the form of ammonium ions from the soil, as well as there are nitrifying bacteria which are present freely in the soil. They fix or they convert ammonium ion into nitrite first and then nitrate ion. This process is called nitrification. So, the nitrifying bacteria which are present in the soil, as ammonium ion is less stable, so it is utilized by the nitrogen fixing bacteria and eventually it is converted into nitrate ion. The plant will absorb nitrogen in the form of nitrate ions, and if it is available in the form of ammonium ion, then plant can absorb it in the form of ammonium ion as well. But eventually, ammonium ion will also convert into nitrate ion. Clear? Ammonium ion will also absorb nitrogen, will also convert into nitrate ion. This arrowhead is wrong. Fine. Now, when the plant it absorbs nitrogen in the form of nitrate ion and ammonium ion, then of course this nitrate ion is used to synthesize and ammonium ion is used to synthesize what? Amino acid. As we all know that in the structure of amino acid, it contains amino group. It contains amino group. Okay, and for this amino group, the nitrogen it comes from, this amino group it comes from the nitrate ion and ammonium ion. Okay, so this is how the amino acid is formed, and then this amino acid it forms plant protein. Fine, is converted into protein. Now, when this plant protein is feed upon by the animal, then it becomes the part of the animal. Now, what do you think? Only by feeding it becomes the part of the animal? We all know that anything will become the part of the animal body by the process of digestion and then absorption. Fine. So when the animal it feeds upon the plant, then it becomes the part of the animal body after being digested and absorbed by the alimentary canal. Okay. Now, when the animal it excrete or ingest, and when the animal it dies, and when the plant its fallen leaves it falls in the soil, and when the death of the plant will occur, then the decomposers will act upon it, upon the excretory and digested waste, and upon the dead decaying organism, and it releases ammonium ion in the soil. Okay, this decomposition is also known as putrefaction, and of course we all know that decomposition is done by bacteria and fungi, and they release what? Ammonium ion again in the soil. Then again the nitrification will happen, and because of the nitrification, ammonium ion will be converted into nitrite ion first, and then it is less stable, therefore it is converted into nitrate ion, and then again it is absorbed by the plant. This is how the nitrogen it keeps on cycling within the soil, but it has to return back to the atmosphere in order to maintain the nitrogen concentration constant in the atmosphere. So there are certain denitrifying bacteria which are present in the soil. They will act upon the nitrate ion. That means they will feed upon the nitrate ion and they release nitrogen back to the atmosphere. So this is how the nitrogen is released back to the atmosphere. Clear? So what is the importance of nitrogen cycle? This process is essential in maintaining the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere. Now, why we need to maintain the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere? Because the fixed nitrogen is in very limited supply. If it is not recycled, then it is not available for the plant to absorb. And why it is essential for the plant? Because it is essential for the synthesis of amino acid, which is used to build protein molecules, which are essential for growth, for cell division, and for the synthesis of many important structures in plant and animal. Clear? Okay, that's it. Okay, so name the processes which are responsible for adding nitrogen to the soil. Number one, lightning. Number two, nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil. Number three, nitrogen fixing bacteria in the root nodules of leguminous plant. That is all the three processes of nitrogen fixation. Putrefaction or decomposition, it is also responsible for adding nitrogen to the soil. Nitrification, that is conversion of ammonium ion to nitrite and then nitrate by nitrifying bacteria. It is also responsible for adding nitrogen to the soil. And the process which remove nitrogen from the soil are denitrification, absorption, and leaching. Denitrification, that is when the denitrifying bacteria which are present in the soil, they act upon the nitrate ion and then they release nitrogen back to the atmosphere. This is how the nitrogen is released back to the atmosphere. And the second process through which nitrogen is removed from the soil is leaching. What is the meaning of leaching? Leaching means washing away of mineral ions by dissolving in the water away from the soil. The mineral ions, they get dissolved in the water and then they washed away from the soil after being dissolved in the water. This is known as leaching. And third process is known as absorption. When the plant it absorbed nitrogen in the form of nitrate ions and ammonium ion from the soil, then of course it is removed from the soil. Clear? Is this clear to all of you?